So great catching up with my next guest, and he's got a big fight coming up here. Patchy mix, Bellator 295, April 22nd. It's right around the corner. It's Raufeon Stots back here on the program. Raufeon, how are you, man?
Man, I'm doing pretty good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great, but we got to talk about the big news that happened last week, which I was really surprised by. Pettis coming down to your weight class, fighting Sergio Pettis. How surprised were you? Did you have any insight this was going to happen?
Yeah, I got a little bit of insight just because, I'm close with the team. Yeah, for me, to be honest, like it came as a surprise that they went that route, but it's like a happy surprise for me. I think, Sergio, he's been out for a year. He hasn't been able to fight, so I know he's going to be like itching to he was itching to kind of get back in the saddle, and then Patrico coming down, he gets to test out 135 pounds. And me, after I win this $1 million, to be honest with you, I'm going to take this summer and I'm going to go on a couple trips. So I wasn't ready to get right back into the saddle. And then also I'm not ready to like fight Sergio, right off the bat. But yeah, so I think this is a good matchup. I think this is a good way to, kind of, it almost feels like an extension of the tournament, And it's a fun matchup, I think.
For sure. If the champ, official champ, I know you're interim champ. If the official champ was, John Smith and not Sergio Pettis, would you be more upset? Or I guess for you now, because again, you'd have to fight your teammate. You'd have to all these different things.
That's 100% it. That's 100% it. I have all the reservations just because of the relationship and, the relationship I have with Sergio. If Sergio was a terrible person, I kind of wish he was a terrible person. So then, I'd have no problem with like, oh yeah, I didn't like him as my teammate, but I feel like he was really helpful for me, so yeah, that's 100%, why I have reservations for fighting. Granted, I'll do it, but I have reservations.
And just last thing on it, is there any I mean, it's not really a concern for you, but the fact that he hasn't made 135 yet, is that something that you sort of thought about when you saw that? Because like, I don't even know if he's done like a test cut or anything. It's just, I know he's the champ. And so obviously he has a lot of leverage when it comes to, getting opportunities, but it's the fact he hasn't made the weight, I think, is some people are kind of like, wow, this is a bit weird.
Yeah, I think he's just done so much at 145, and there's not a lot of options or a lot of, people that they feel, will stack up against him at 145. So this is maybe a new challenge, and it's something, he hasn't done. And to be honest with you, I think going down in weight is a tougher challenge than going up in weight.
Oh, yeah.
You just don't know how your body will react, to that lower weight class going so fast. And also, I was thinking, I heard Patricio was thinking about coming down to bantamweight, and I wanted to be the one he tested himself against, just because I know it's gonna be harder for him to come down, So he's not gonna have I don't know if he had a test cut. I know he ain't had no fight at that weight class, so it's gonna be a lot of new, I feel like challenges for him, at a lower weight class, and that would be a better, it'd be easier, of a fight for me. I'm already at 135, and then I fight somebody who's kind of trying to figure stuff out, So, and that's for that reason, I feel like, Sergio has the upper hand, Granted, I know Sergio's coming off of an injury, but, he's a smart guy, and I think he has a good team around him. And he handled his injury, like a true champion. So, for my prediction, I would have to say I think Sergio is going to come out on top.
Shocking, really, that you'd say that. No, I'm kidding. No, I get it. I get it. Trust me. I like kind of the reasons I explained. We don't know, how he's going to look at 135 Pitbull, that is. Okay, let's talk about Patchy mix, because there's a couple of things I wanted to ask about. You had to train at Xtreme Couture last year when you were supposed to fight Sergio. I can't remember. Did you guys ever train together? Was there any sort of, or were you on separate sides of the gym? How did that work?
Yeah, no. So I went there, and we didn't train together because we were in the tournament, so we knew we'd probably be facing each other, or we possibly could be facing each other later in the tournament. So we would train kind of alongside of each other. Like he was on the same mat, but we never like trained together. And I'm not the type of person where I'm not like watching him. I had a fight to worry about, and I also don't care, what people see of me. So we trained, we did pads. I did have to have a conversation with him because I felt like when I was walking into the gym, I felt like every time I walked in, he had like a mean mug, but I think that's just his face. You know, I think it's his face, hindsight. But yeah, so he had like a mean mug. So I like walked up to him and I was just like, hey man, hey, do we have a problem? Like, I feel like you looking at me every time I come into the gym. If we have a problem, let's settle it now. You know what I'm saying? You gotta, if you got something to say, you got something to get off your chest. If you want to, you know, fight now, you know, I can fight now and we can get it over with. But I don't want to keep walking in here and seeing you like, kind of look at me, just look like you mad at me or look like you want to say something. But he told me that he was like, I'm not looking at you, bro. I'm looking, if I was like looking, but I'm not looking at you or something. I was like, okay, because the other thing was like, I can be cool or whatever. Like, I don't need to be like this macho guy like all the time, but I also don't want to be disrespected or, you know, feel like
no, I get it.
If somebody got something to say with me, say it to me, then say it to me. You know what I'm saying? I kind of wear my heart on my sleeve. I kind of say what I feel, you know, when I'm around people. So I would like that same respect, kind of, you know, wherever I am.
Well, I thought he might have been upset. What was that, a couple of years ago in the elevator when you took the video of, hey, these guys won't fight me or whatever? That too.
You know what? I thought about sharing that because now I'm finna fight. But I fought the one. Now I'm finna fight the other. You know.
Right.
No, he never said nothing about that. I forgot about that.
I just remember because it was so funny because like he wasn't expecting you to film. By the way, there was a couple other fighters in there, so it wasn't just him who was like taken off guard, but it was like I think Juan Archuleta was having fun with it a bit.
Juan Archuleta, yeah, and I was like, I found these motherfuckers or something like that, and he was like, he didn't like it. I don't think, or he was just like whatever, this motherfucker Stots, like always talking shit, like shut the fuck up or something, you know. And he took off, and then Juan Archuleta had some shit to say. I should have brought that up. I didn't even think about that.
There you go.
But that's not the first time I've approached Patchy. I've approached him maybe after the Alberto something fight. It was like the fight before. I'm spacing on his name, but I approached him before that, and I was like, "Hey, man, what's up? Like, we gonna fight or whatever, you know?" Because that's how I talk to everybody, you know.
Albert Morales was the fighter.
Like that. You say what?
Albert Morales was the guy he fought.
Albert Morales, exactly. Yeah. After that fight, I was like, "Hey, man, what's up, bro? You, I got a contract to fight you, and then stuff didn't happen. Like, what's up? Like, you want to fight or not? You know, like, do I need to move on or whatever?" And then he said he had the James Gallagher fight. You know, he was working on that fight because it was a bigger money fight for him. You know, so yeah. But I mean, that's just how I come at, you know, the fight. Like, if we're gonna fight, let's do it. You know, I don't want to like run from the challenges of the division. You know, I want to meet all of them.
Yeah, and this is just such an awesome fight, like style wise and everything. He's been choking everyone out. That's been the cool thing, is like to see, like, you know, he's finishing guys like, you know, Magomed in his last fight, you know, which is a tough guy to take out here. Do you take, you know, I know, you know, every fight's different, right? And anything can happen, but do you kind of get a bit of confidence knowing no one's choked you out before and you're fighting a guy that's typically how he wins? Yeah,
you know what? I mean, I know that's his path to victory, and that's just everybody I fight, everybody has different strengths, different weaknesses. You know, I know that's his path to victory, you know, to choke me out. And, you know, I'm not bad in the grappling department. You know what I mean? I'm a pretty high level athlete in the grappling department. So that gives me confidence. Also, if you look at, you know, our opponents, you know, two of the opponents that he fought, we have two opponents in common, you know. I beat two of them. He beat one of them. Granted, he finished the one of them, but I would say I was close to finishing Magomed too, you know, in the second round. So, and I'm definitely better from there, and I'm definitely, you know, more dialed in, I feel like now. So, I got a lot of confidence, you know, and I'm sure he has confidence now, but I got, you know, I got gold behind my confidence. I got freaking stats behind my confidence. And I think I got better skills, you know, behind my confidence.
There we go. Training camp. You mentioned it there, working with Eve Edwards. I imagine, did you get to work with Adrian Yanez this camp? Because he's obviously, the time of recording this, fighting Rob Font this Saturday.
Yeah, we're in the same, you know, room. So we're always like training together. We're not specific, like, so we got specific rounds. So we got like body types and skill sets kind of tailored to who we were fighting. So for our sparring rounds, we didn't like specifically go with each other, but we're also in the room. So if there's an odd man out, we're always like working together. We're also doing thug jitsu with Eve Edwards, so we're also always doing wrestling together. We're also grappling together always. The only time we weren't, it was just like during we got time for specific rounds. You know, we're working on specific game plans. That's the only time we're not. You know, but every practice he's in, I'm in, you know, and we're all, you know, piggybacking off of each other. So we got a lot of work together. So I got work with Adrian Yanez, Cameron Smotherman. He's a Fury FC bantamweight champion right now. We brought in some jiu-jitsu guys. Cameron, why am I spacing on his last name too? It's another Cameron we brought in, you know, and he like fits Patchy's build. I also went out with Cory Sandhagen to Ryan Hall's gym, and I got a lot of good grappling and grappling concepts from them. And then also Eric Nicksick came down and, you know, trained with me, you know, and I'm also at Travis Took's gym with a lot of, you know, good BJJ guys. Travis Took is a black belt here in Houston, Texas. So yeah, I got a lot of, you know, I feel like I built a camp kind of around fighting Patchy. And that was one thing I feel like that maybe I didn't do for my fight against Sabatello. I really didn't care what Sabatello was going to do. You know, I was just like, okay, he's a wrestler, you know, so I didn't like kind of tighten up my wrestling. I just kind of went in there like, okay, he's going to wrestle and I'm going to, you know, figure out a way to win. But yeah.
Okay. One thing you mentioned there, I just want to clarify. You said Eric Nicksick worked with you this camp?
Yeah. So Eric Nicksick is going to be in my corner. So
whoa, okay. Because obviously, like, Patchy's at Xtreme, right? So how does that, or does he not work with him?
Patchy is at Xtreme, and I had this conversation with Eric Nicksick. You know, when I decided to come over from Rufus Sport, just because I was like, yeah, okay, so I got to fight Sergio, so I'm probably gonna fight, or I'll probably. The idea was, you know, I maybe have to do just a camp here. I might see how I like it, you know. I also know Patchy's fighting, you know, in that gym. But how it works at Xtreme Couture is like everybody kind of has their own coaches.
Right, okay.
Everybody also have practices that they run for the team, you know. So he runs like a Monday morning practice for the team. And then but Patchy's like welcome to come in. Everybody's pretty much welcome to come in to the practices, like the team practices. But as far as like kind of working game plan and like working with athletes, everybody kind of has their own coaches. So his coaches are, man, names is
Dennis Davis. I mean, I'm just trying to think of the other coaches there. Yeah.
The Nate.
Oh no, yeah, Nate Pettit, I think.
Yep, Nate Pettit and what's the one guy from that got into it with Mike Jackson?
Oh, Jake Shields.
Yeah, Jake Shields. Yeah, Jake Shields. And yeah, so I asked Eric Nicksick, like, hey, is that okay that like you corner me? Is that gonna be a problem? Like, should I find, you know, somebody else or whatever? And he was like, no, man, I told you in the beginning, you know, he was real about it. Like, I told you, man, I'm gonna ride with you, you know. We won't, and I'm not I don't need to know none of his, like, what he's doing in camp. I don't need to know none of that. I don't care about none of that.
Yeah.
I don't care if he knows what I'm doing. Like, I'm not that type of person. I don't need to win that way, you know. I figure skill wise, technical wise, and also just thinking, I think I'm a better fighter. So if he does do something different than what I think my game plan is, I will alter my game plan mid-fight because I have tools, because I'm a good martial artist, you know. I'm good everywhere, and I know why I'm doing things, you know. So I know why I would need to change them. So yeah, so he was like, yeah, man, I'll help you out. I'll come out to Houston for a little bit, and he's just like, he's gonna be. He gave me some game plan, but it's like stuff off of, we know what Patchy's good at. We know what he likes to do. You know, he likes to attack necks. He likes to backpack, you know. Yeah, so.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. Glad I clarified that. Just wanted to know. A name you mentioned there. I got to bring it up. Cory Sandhagen. I actually just spoke to him last week. How cool is that seeing him go out there and get such a dominant win over Chito Vera? Because you train with this guy, and it's kind of like you guys are all kind of rising up at the same time.
Hell yeah, bro. I was so fucking happy for him. You know, Cory Sandhagen is like kind of like one of the. I feel like he kind of reset a switch in my kind of training that I needed. You know, because like we're not close enough to where like we're cool. We're really cool, but we're like far enough to where like we can come in now. We know each other, and now we can come in and just try to fuck each other up and just kind of piggyback and tell each other, you know, okay, this is what I wanted, this is what I'm trying to do to you, this is what you were trying to do to me, you know, and this is kind of where my thinking comes in. And he's also like a great mind, you know, when it comes to mixed martial arts and war and competition, you know. So it's cool to like pick his mind with stuff like that. And then also like I feel like we're kind of on the same wavelength, you know, of thinking, you know. Whereas it's like this fighting stuff is serious, you know, but at the end of the day, you know, it's how much time you put in, you know, and how much time you put into getting better and furthering your martial arts journey. You know, yeah, scores. I can't say any like enough great things about him because you know he's an amazing athlete, amazing coach, and I consider him a friend now. So I was super happy, you know, for him to get that win. You know, he's a beast, man. His call out too was fucking amazing. Also, I want to say I think fucking Cory Sandhagen might got the best social media fucking presence to me, you know, because he's funny as fuck.
That's great. Yeah. And so the guy he called out is a guy that you fought before. It's the only loss in your resume. I was going to ask you about that because like, I think we talked about this before, but does it like, of like having one loss in your resume of all losses, that's one that's aged quite well in terms of what Merab, I mean, he just beat Petr Yan decisively. Like he dominated him.
Yeah. It definitely ages well. You know, I'm always going to have that bitter taste in my mouth because I know there's things I could have done better and I would have done better had I had the chance or had I known what I know now. But he's doing amazing and I can't fault him for that. I will always want to get that fight back. But if my homie can beat him up, you know, that's that's a little bitter, you know, or that's a little sweet, you know. It's not like a full revenge, but it's like, okay, I help somebody, you know, beat you up. You know, just because I'm a competitor, you know, I always like want that back. You know, I don't wish any ill will toward Merab. You know, I hope he continues to do well. You know, and yeah, I think it's like it's pretty cool that he's ascended to the level he's ascended. You know, and yeah, it just speaks to kind of the level I'm at. You know, we were both young, so like he beat me kind of when I was coming up. But since then, you know, I've went on to win 11 straight. I'm now the Bellator interim champion, and I wouldn't change it. You know, I'm happy. I'm happy as hell where I'm at, and I think I needed that, you know, lesson. You know, Merab has taken a lot more lessons than me, you know, in the fight game, and yeah, so it pretty well.
One more past opponent I want to bring up only because he's been blowing up lately, like even mainstream wise. Keith Lee, have you been seeing what's happening with him with this TikTok?
Keith Lee. Yeah, hell yeah. I got mistaken for Keith Lee at a Walgreens one time. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to start telling people I'm Keith Lee because he is blowing up. The bro was on Good Morning America. Bro was, he got Chipotle deal. You know, he's doing big things. And even, so Keith Lee is like one person that I fought that I was like, I felt bad kind of mid-fight. Because he's a good person. He's a fucking good person. And we like had ice cream after the fight and we talked about the fight and division and stuff like that. I know his brother, you know. I feel like Keith Lee and Kevin Lee relationship is kind of like Anthony Pettis and Sergio because they're two way different, you know. The way they approach fighting is like way different, you know. And then the older brother kind of he's getting more shine kind of early, you know.
That's a good point. I never thought of it that way.
And yeah, and I see a lot of similarities in them, you know. But they're both like the younger brothers are super kind of analytical, you know, and the older brothers kind of just have it or have an it factor, you know. That granted they spend a lot of time and getting better and stuff like that, but it comes a little easier. It feels like for the older brothers, but yeah, I'm super happy for Keith Lee too, man. Everybody winning, bro. We got Sandhagen winning, Keith Lee winning, Adrian Yanez winning this week or
Anthony
this week.
Pettis winning in the boxing ring, right?
Pettis winning in the boxing ring. Yeah, bro.
Yeah, it's all good.
Up, man.
Just quickly, you mentioned your corner. So Eric Nicksick will be there. Is Eve Edwards going to be in your corner? Who else will be in the cage with you that night?
Eve Edwards will be in my corner. Cameron Smotherman will be in my corner. Yeah, those three.
Okay, there we go. And how's this fight playing out? I mean, this is an epic matchup. How do you see this one going down?
Yeah, I see him, trying to attack backs, and once he figures out, that I have amazing game plan to defend that, and I'm gonna just keep popping him in his gap tooth, or his gap mouth. I'm gonna just keep the pressure on him. I believe that's my cage, and he can't do anything about it. And yeah, it's gonna end with me finishing him in emphatic fashion, or him just crumbling and getting beat up for 5 rounds. That's just kind of how I feel.
Love it. Over on the UFC side of things, I was curious your thoughts on this fight. We've got the bantamweight title fight between Aljamain Sterling and Henry Cejudo. How do you see that fight going down?
Oh man, that's a tough fight. I feel like I got Aljamain Sterling. Granted, Cejudo has done amazing things. He's an amazing wrestler, amazing, talent. But I don't know, how he's coming back. He was pretty chubby, for a little bit, and he's coming back, How long is his layoff? Do you know?
It's a couple of years. I think it was 2020 he last fought.
It's the spring chicken, so I'm gonna have to go with Aljamain.
Okay, I like it. Okay, now I'm just going to ask you some rapid fire questions. The first thing that comes to mind, just say it. We're going to go quickly like that. Who's the best striker in MMA?
Cory Sandhagen.
Best grappler?
Patchy Mix.
Funniest fighter?
Raufeon Stots.
Who would you want to have dinner with the most? That's a fighter.
Oh, Demetrius Johnson.
Who would you want by your side in a street fight?
Freaking Francis Ngannou.
Who has the highest fight IQ?
I would say Cory Sandhagen.
And what is your dream fight, either you or just a fight you want to see in general?
My dream fight would be probably if I get that Merab fight back. That would be my dream fight.
There we go. And we sort of talked about it there. So is the understanding like you win this fight, you're going to fight the winner of Pitbull and Sergio Pettis?
Yeah. So it's essentially like an extension of the bracket or the tournament, So the winner of this fight gets the winner of Patrico and Sergio.
There we go. It's all set up.
Works out for me because now I got, I get instead of like having to fight right back, I get to watch these guys fight and then, gear up and fight them after. And
you said traveling. Do you have anything planned as far as destinations you want to head to for this travel?
Yeah. So I'm going to go to Bahamas.
Nice.
For the first time. We're going to go to, what is that? Going back to Nebraska, going back to where my wife is from. We're going to Arizona for a wedding. We're just going to be kind of all over the place for a little bit.
There you go, man. That's great. Hey, Raufeon, thanks so much for doing this. If there's anyone you want to thank before we get out of here, any sponsors, any social media, I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, I want to thank, my sponsor, Cricket Wireless and Zero Shoes. Also, Diano Clothing for supplying me with fresh clothes. This shirt I got on is an Eve Edwards shirt at a store he never advertises, but should. I want to thank those guys, too, my training partners. I got a lot of good training partners. Eve Edwards, Adrian Yanez, who has a fight this weekend, Cameron Smotherman, Justice Torres, Michael Aswell, Jacob Silva. Those guys have been a staple, and I appreciate those guys for working with me through all this time training here.